Welcome back to the channel, everybody, and today we continue with the upgrades to the Panigale V4. In this box are a host of upgrades from Ohlins, Motocorse, Lightech, and Melotti. Before we start unboxing, I want to thank our friend Alex at MyGP Racing. He sourced all these parts that you'll see in the video today. MyGP Racing pretty much carries everything that you'd ever want for Ducati, Aprilia, or MV Agusta, CNC Racing, Rizoma, Melotti, Motocorse, AEM Factory, all the main brands MyGP Racing does carry. If you want to support the channel and support MyGP Racing, use my coupon code RIWAKAI for 5% off the entire store. Even better though is if you call MyGP Racing, a lot of times they can give you a better price over the phone. So let's see what we received here. First up in this weird package is a Melotti top yoke. Got some Motocorse levers, and there should be Ohlins steering damper. And I think Alex said he had an extra gift in here for me. There it is. Looks like he threw in a cool little Motocorse smartphone holder as well. So there's actually one more item we're going to install today, and kind of a funny story behind it. It's a Lightech fuel lid for the older 1199 and 1299 Panigales. I've been looking for one of these for quite some time, but since they haven't been produced in a while, they're kind of hard to get. I was finally able to find one on eBay, thankfully. My first choice was to get an all black one, but with them not being produced for quite some time, I kind of had to settle for a black and red one. And what happened was there was a motorcycle dealership based out of Florida that had posted one on eBay. They had it posted for $135. I made an offer for $105, and to my delight, they took it, which was great. Thankful for that. But then when I got it, they were selling it in their store for 50 bucks. So it's of no fault of the dealership. I mean, to be fair, they have to pay eBay fees and shipping and everything. So selling this item on eBay is way more expensive than trying to sell it in their store, but just kind of funny. I thought I was getting a good deal by getting it for 105 bucks, and then when it showed up, $50 price tag on it. So normally not really a fan of red anodized parts just in general on bikes, but since this is the style that I want, I figure I can first make sure that it's actually going to fit, since this is not intended for a Panigale V4. And then if it does end up fitting, if I really don't like the red, I can have it anodized all black later on. But let's go ahead and get to it. Let's put the Panigale V4 on a stand and start tearing it down. It got the V4 on the stand. Of course, we're using Dynamoto stands for this. Dynamoto stands allow you to move the bike in any direction that you want. Affiliate link and coupon code for that down below. Let's take a look one last time of the stock triple tree area for this bike. Of course, this is a base Panigale V4, so it doesn't have a cool top yoke like an SP2 does or some of the other limited Ducati bikes. We do need to change the levers because unfortunately, at one point, somebody did damage this lever in a parking lot. I think it might have happened at a Cars and Coffee. It was the same time there was some light damage sustained by my stock winglet. So we are going to be changing all that there. Steering damper, just standard fare. For whatever reason, at low speed, this bike, the steering dampener feels really, really tight for some reason, like it's dragging too much, at least for what I use the bike for. So by going to the Ohlins adjustable, that should help me out quite a bit. So taking these top yokes off are kind of difficult because after you loosen all the fasteners, it's still on there really tight. I mean, you're not going to be able to yank on that. So the best way to do it, get a piece of wood and then just stick it down into that hole there. Place it under the yoke and then hit it with a mallet. Just be real careful, go slow. Make sure you don't hit any of the wires or anything like that. Just kind of tap it on this side, go over to the other side, come back, just kind of alternate. And then once it starts moving, it'll come right off. There you go, just kind of millimeter by millimeter. Eventually it will come off. Just be careful, take your time. Okay, top yoke removed. This is all torn down, damper removed. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we removed and compare it to what we're putting back on. Ooh, look at that. I like this little V4 Corsa thing on there, but give it a nice little contrast. They also make these in black. Alex at GP Racing did mention that to me, but I think I prefer just having a little bit of contrast. And not that it matters, but it's good to just know. Let's go ahead and weigh these. Got the stock one is at 1 pound, 0.4 ounces. The Melotti feels pretty similar, maybe a little bit lighter, but it feels pretty similar. Yeah, 15 ounces, so a little over an ounce difference. This is interesting. On the stock damper, I mentioned earlier that it always felt like the steering was really heavy on the V4. Now, for a track application, you're probably gonna want that little bit of stiffness, a lot more resistance, but for the street, you want a little bit less. So what I find interesting though on this damper is less than 2,000 miles old, and it's hard to capture on video, but there's actually a portion right there where the shaft will stick, and then there's like no resistance basically. So it's like right about there. So again, pretty much a brand new damper, but there's no, right there. It sticks and then there's nothing. So check this out, on the damper, if we kind of get rough with it, go back and forth, it's just not a smooth range of motion compared to the Ohlins, which I'm gonna show you in a second, but it's really sticky in there. Whereas this Ohlins, of course, we don't have it adjusted quite yet, but how smooth it is. I don't know if you can pick up how quiet it is as well. So this, and completely free range of motion, very smooth compared to the stock damper where, let me get it close to the mic. You can hear that there's like air in there or something. So I think this new damper, it's actually going to be a good little improvement. Okay, so I don't know if you guys just noticed that, but when that top yoke is not lining up with the top of the suspension, what you do is you roll the bike forward slow and then hit the front brake suddenly. It'll slightly change the angle of the suspension when you're doing it, and it'll allow that yoke to just drop right on. So then that way you're not hitting it with a mallet or anything like that. You just kind of roll it forward, hit the front brake, and it'll just drop right on there. So there you go. We're gonna get everything torqued down here. Interesting thing on these fasteners, the service manual says to not put Loctite on these fasteners. You're actually going to put grease, or anti-seize is fine too, but no Loctite on that fastener, that one, or that one. But the steering damper should have Loctite. I'll put the torque specs in the description as well, but basically for the damper, it's 10 Newton meters for both fasteners, so that one as well as that one there. And then your pinch bolts for the yoke are gonna be 22 Newton meters. So 22, 22, 22. Okay, so little issue, looks like, so the yoke is completely bottomed out. If I can get the camera to focus, yeah, as you can see there, it's completely bottomed out. But as far as the clip-ons go, they're a little bit low. So I think what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just raise the clip-ons just a little bit so that way they engage with the bottom of the yoke here. Okay, everything is all torqued down. I got the clip-ons adjusted, so I did move them up to the yoke just a little bit, just a couple millimeters, but it's looking great. Love the way this looks. I really like This, it kind of has like an OEM look to it, that V4 Corsa etching. Ohlins damper. When I was looking at the Ohlins instructions, I thought this was super interesting. So for one thing, the Ohlins instructions are very good, but there's a portion of the instructions where it kind of tells you how to adjust it and what baseline setting you should be at and so forth. But I thought this was really interesting. In the instructions, it actually says, do not set the damper to less than 5 clicks. So if anybody knows why that is, please let me know down in the comments, but thought that was very interesting. So I've got the damper set to where Ohlins wants you to start. It's at the baseline setting for what Ohlins recommends, and I could already tell the steering is way smoother. It's still a little bit stiff for me, so I'll probably reduce it, but I could already tell just from the bike sitting here, it's much, much smoother. It's not hanging up like it was with the original damper. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and move on to replacing this fuel lid on the Ducati with the Lightech version. What I really like about Lightech is it's a complete replacement for the fuel lid. So normally when you change fuel lids on pretty much any motorcycle, but especially Ducatis, MV Agustas, Aprilias, when you buy that lid, it's just this top piece and you end up using the bottom part of your fuel lid. So it's kind of a pain to put them together and not drop stuff in the gas tank, and it's a pain if you want to switch back and forth between your stock fuel lid and an aftermarket. So I liked how Lightech, it's a complete replacement. Hopefully this goes on, because again, this is for an older Panigale. It's for an 1199 or 1299, so hopefully we can make it work. So it does look like it's going to work. What I was worried about, this is the OEM gasket. These fuel lids, they need to be vented, so I was worried about the ports for the vent lining up. And on these gaskets, there's also, see this little raised portion here? That's got to interface with the new fuel lid as well. And you could see it all lines up just like it should, if I can get it right. And then see there, our ports are just fine. And you could see on the tank, it needs to interface with those portholes there. Okay, and moment of truth. Let's see if this is gonna work. It doesn't look like it's, oh, there it goes. Okay, I think that is going to work. So there you have it. Lightech fuel lid for an 1199 or 1299 Panigale does fit on a Panigale V4. Okay, and there we go. There's our fuel lid. Super happy with this. This wasn't my first choice. I would have preferred to have the all black one, but now that I know that this does actually fit a V4, what I can do is, if this red bothers me, I can go ahead and get it anodized in this kind of matte black. But yeah, I mean, just wanted to kind of do something different. On V4s, I always see TWM fuel lids. I see a lot of CNC, Rizoma, which there's nothing wrong with those. Those are all great brands, but when you want to do something a little bit different, sometimes you have to kind of think outside the box a little. Normally, I like the AEM factory fuel lids. I think aesthetically, these are still the best looking. I've got one on the Panigale V2 as well. I really like the way these look. Quality's good, but after the whole debacle with the rear sets on the Panigale V2, AEM Factory's pretty much lost my business forever. I want to show you guys this too. So pay attention to right here. You guys see it flexing? I don't want to get into it too much, but basically what happened with AEM Factory is it took them about 5 to 6 months to send me the rear sets for the Panigale V2. They ended up not fitting. There were multiple issues wrong with the rear set. So I sent an inquiry to AEM Factory. They request that I send them certain measurements. So I take my caliper and send them the measurements that they requested, send them videos, send them pictures. And it took them about another 5 to 6 months to get me a replacement part. So I basically was waiting over a year for AEM Factory to get me the correct rear sets for the Panigale V2. So with that, they basically lost my business forever. I'm not buying any other AEM Factory parts. Okay, anyway, so let's go ahead and get these levers replaced. Here are the Motocorse ones. Got them in black. If we look at the Panigale V2, it has the same levers but in silver, so kind of see them side by side there. I think the silver is a little more fitting on the older Panigales because there's just more silver parts to them, right? Whereas on the newer Panigales, there's a lot more black, right? They went with this black and red color scheme. The rear sets, all this stuff is black on the newer one. So I figured it'd be a little more fitting to go with the black Motocorse levers. Okay, and there it is, super happy with it. Let's take a look at that top yoke. You can see V4 Corsa. Looks kind of OEM, which I like. Steering damper, also Ohlins, looks OEM as well. The Motocorse levers, a little less OEM, but still very clean. You don't see any crazy anodized parts or any crazy logoing or anything like that. It just has a little small Motocorse on there. Really nice pieces. I was super happy with them on my V2, so here we are on the V4. Lightech fuel cap. Again, I'm not sure about the red anodized. I think all black would look better, but I'm just glad that I was able to make this 1199, 1299 fuel lid work with this V4. Let me step back. Pretty cool. You could see the Ohlins through the front windscreen as well as that lasered V4 Corse. And there we go. Very happy with that so far. You can see it's coming along nicely. Still more things to do, but kind of has a nice OEM plus look to it. There's just so many little details on all these parts. I really like just, you know, these parts, they are ridiculous for Ducatis, but I mean, it's totally worth it to just get high quality parts the first time around, and after that, you don't have to worry about it. So before we close out completely, just want to thank Alex at MyGP Racing again for sourcing all the parts for today's video, getting them to me quickly. You guys check out his website, give him a call. Anything that you need for a Ducati, Aprilia, or MV Agusta, he can get it for you. When you call him, he can work with you on pricing. As far as me, I purchased from them for years, and he's always had the best prices. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for joining me. Appreciate that very much. And we'll see you guys next time.